If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this video. Disclaimer, this video is for educational purposes. There's no hate to anyone involved. Everything I'm sharing is either my personal experience, opinion, or alleged. Unfortunately, I decided to take down my Who the F Did I Think I Was Going to Marry series. I heard from the person who the series was about. They sent me an email with what I'm fairly confident is a fake cease and desist letter. However, they found the emails of my family members, also sent it to them, and it's just getting a little out of hand. And I decided for now, the best thing to do is just take down the videos of this person's face and the comments with this person's name, just to avoid any further action or hearing from them. This is the letter. I'm not saying it's not totally valid, but I don't think it's a formal cease and desist. There's no sign of an attorney. It just says on behalf of this person's name. The email that he sent it to me in also just said do not reply, and the grammar was improper, so take that for what you will. I technically still am within the 48-hour window if I want to keep the videos up until 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight. I've been going back and forth with this all day because this person has already taken so much from me in terms of my ability to love and trust, affecting my mental health, potentially affecting my physical health. It bothers me a lot that they're now trying to take away my voice and my right to share my very real experiences with this person. I believe the only reason that this person reached out to me is because he just wants everything wiped. I think that he didn't realize how much of a platform I had, my ability to use it, and that all of this would just go crazy viral. And the only reason that all of this went viral, by the way, is not because I talked about what happened, because in my original video, I didn't talk about what happened, but people knew who he was. They knew this person. They recognized the photos. I am of the belief that this person really just brought this on themselves, and they're not sorry. They're not sorry that they got caught. They're continuing to do what they're doing. They just don't want any evidence of it. Who the F Did I Think I Was Going to Marry series was laying the groundwork for the bigger problem. Before the series got taken down, everything that I had shared was simply just about my experience with this person, and really was just a story of a relationship that ended and he was on Hinge after, and like that really sucked. I never got to explain why I chose to bring this to social media in the first place, but I'm gonna do it right now. When I posted my video saying, never mind, he was on Hinge, I thought that was just a silly joke. It was a coping mechanism for me. I just put it out on the internet. I could have never imagined that when I went to bed that night and woke up to that video having almost 1 million views, that it would be flooded and filled with comments, and my DMs would be full of people saying they know this person, they recognize this person, they have been on dates with this person has approached them, they've had other experiences with this person, including being in a relationship with this person, having physical relations with this person. I was shocked. And it just kept getting worse. This goes way beyond a story of my boyfriend was unfaithful to me and talking to a couple other women in our relationship. This man was juggling dozens and dozens of women, I believe, at the same time. I do not know how he had time for this. I do not know how he did this. Everyone I tell this to has no idea. This goes so beyond just a problem with me. I'm talking taking multiple girls out in a day, talking to multiple girls at a time, having multiple physical partners allegedly, and not disclosing properly that you are with other people and putting people's sexual health at risk. And that is why I am here. That is why I am sharing this story, because it is wrong. If you watched part of my series, you know that something I said in there was when I was physically intimate with this person, we had the conversation of if we were with anyone else. We both said that we were not. This person specifically said that they were not with anyone for a very long time and that they were clean, and reassured me that everything would be fine. I come to find out that that is not true. I'm not saying this person was not clean. I truly don't know any of that. I'm going to take care of myself this week. However, I do know what was not true was that I was not the only person this man was being physically intimate with. My DMs are overflowing with people saying they have had an experience with this person or know someone who has had an experience with this person, whether that's dating, hooking up, getting their phone number at the gym. I am talking friends. I am talking former coworkers. I am talking former coaches. I cannot explain to you how widely this is spread. It is honestly almost unbelievable. I don't even believe it myself. Know how this person had the time, the willpower, the energy, or even could think to do this. I am talking perpetually on Hinge, constantly, 24/7. I mentioned that I made a fake profile and caught him on Hinge. So did 4 of my friends. Collectively, there were 4 or 5 profiles of people that he was talking to, having the same conversations with, trying to tell them that woe is me, I'm never going to find a girl who's going to follow me in through the military, yada, 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 inviting them to these weddings, offering to fly them out, just absolutely insane stuff, saying he wants to pursue them, he wants a connection. I can't even get into the details because it is just so horrifying how meticulous and thought out, or maybe there is no thought, just how copy and paste these conversations are. Of everything else, the situation with me, I was his girlfriend. From what I understand, I was his only girlfriend, and granted I didn't live in Texas, but I was willing to uproot my life to move to Texas for him. He made me feel like I was the most special woman in the world. I loved this person so, so, so deeply. So to find out that they're basically an entirely other person and doing all of these things and being with other people to a absolutely horrifying level. Like, I can't explain, this isn't 1 or 2 people that they cheated on me with. Dozens. I saw this man posted in the Dallas-Fort Worth "Who Are We Dating" group, the comments, hundreds of comments, people saying that they're currently hooking up with him, they had hooked up with him, that he was weird to them, he told them that he loved them. Like, everyone has a story, and somehow the stories are all so similar and so different at the same time. Honestly, one 10-minute video on TikTok isn't enough for me to get you to understand the gravity of this situation and just how deeply rooted it is and how sinister it is, and diabolical, that this man had a web of women, not even limited to Dallas-Fort Worth. I had comments, people saying that he was on the Are We Dating page in Cleveland, that had over 100 comments on it. He's from the New England area. I had people from New Hampshire, Boston, Rhode Island, like, reach out. The craziest part is I don't know when he did all of this. Like, he was on Hinge when we were in Hawaii together, and I had no idea, and I was with him a majority of the time. I truly believe that this person has a real problem, and that it is so much more sinister than I could ever imagine. And I don't know how to explain that to everyone. The only thing that I can say is that if you are aware of this person or know someone who has been with this person, the most important thing you can do is take care of yourself. I went to the doctor and I took care of myself, if you know what I mean. Make sure that nothing is wrong and stay away from this person. That's the only advice I can give you. And I know that even that won't put a stop to this, that there are many other women out there that will probably fall for his charming, kind, like, genuine personality and never know. Because honestly, if I never posted my TikTok, I never would have known this. I never would have known that the person that I was with, the person that I was dating, that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, because that's what they told me they wanted, the person that I was going to move halfway across the country for, was being physically intimate with other women and not telling me. I feel disgusting and out of touch with my own body. I can't even explain, like, let alone the heartbreak of this whole situation. I can get over that, and I'll get over this too, but I just don't feel like myself. I feel so violated. I feel like I have to shower multiple times a day, wash my bed sheets every day, like, wear different clothes. Like, I cannot escape the feeling of what this person has done and is still doing. I don't even think that I have even explained or could get someone to understand the severity of this situation unless you are me or my mother or someone close to me who has watched me experience this firsthand. I don't even know if this video makes any sense. If it does, like, I'm so sorry you had to experience this. To the person who caused all of this hurt and hate and made me feel violated and just disgusted, I truly hope that you get help. I know that you won't. I don't know why you did this. I believe it's because you hate women and you hate yourself. But I will take this and I will grow from it and I will be better for it. And I know that you will always be who you are at your core, which is underwhelmingly average. If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this series. Welcome to Who the F Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? Part 2. Disclaimer, this video is solely for educational purposes. No hate to anyone involved. Everything is either my experience, my opinion, or alleged. I had to move locations because it is thundering right now, so sorry if you hear any of that. So I could get into the details. I could show you every text, and I will show you some. But basically, the gist is I opened up a lot about my 5-year relationship ending, the trust issues I had with that, specifically because that person was on Hinge, which I'll get to. He came on very, very strong, saying he wanted to FaceTime me, he wanted me to come to Texas with him, like, that he would be home during Christmas and that he could see me. So, like, it was very strong vibes, but I didn't really know how to read it. It was my first time, like, dating, and it's my first time really dating as an adult ever. So I just kind of stopped texting him, like, frequently. I didn't talk to him very frequently, and I said, let's just reconnect when you come back for Christmas. Christmas time rolls around. He flies from Texas back to New Hampshire, where we're from. By the way, he was also seeing a girl in Boston and flew back with a girl from Texas, which I found out through somebody because of my social media post. T. We have an absolute incredible first date, like out of a movie. I get there, it goes amazing. We sit at the bar for hours, talk about everything. He opens every door for me. He pulls out my chair. He takes off my coat. He takes care of the check. Like, he has his hand like around me. He asks if it's okay if he puts his arm around me. We talk about so much. We talk about everything. And I was just like, you know what? I love how this man knows what he wants. He's very direct. He's very straightforward. Like, he talked so heavily about wanting to be a father, have a family, be a present dad, have a job that allows him to be present, and said he wanted to take parenting classes so that he could be an equally contributing partner. Like, amazing stuff I'd never heard from a man before. He was so pushy on me about how much he wanted to be a family man. And when I came out and said, I don't want children, it was like he flipped a switch. He was just like immediately like, oh, I don't want children. We can be the cool aunt and uncle. Like, I don't need to have kids. We can save our money. Like, I personally think he was just feeding me what he thought either the girl before me or other girls like wanted to hear. And when I said that I didn't want kids, he just, again, told me what I wanted to hear. But I didn't realize that until later. We end the date. He puts me in my car. He closes the door. I get ready to leave. And I don't know why I did this. And it was such a good memory until now. I fling open the car door and I say, blank, like his name, wait. And he just like goes to hug me and I give him a kiss and we share this amazing kiss, like out of a Hallmark movie. I'm not saying that to be like, to brag about it, but like, it was incredible. We both felt it, or at least I felt it. I shouldn't say we both. I don't know what he feels. He doesn't feel anything. Amazing. I go home, telling my friends, like, I'm like, oh my God, like my friend from high school who knows him, I'm like, oh my God, like this man is amazing. I am so happy that I found him. Like, I really hit the jackpot. He's so kind, but like, I'm gonna take it slow because I don't want to mess it up. I'm head over heels for this man already. He goes back to Texas right after Christmas. We're texting just non-stop, paragraphs about what we want in a partner, how we've been working on ourselves, like what we really like. He's starting to tell me that he really sees this could go somewhere and that he would love to pursue me, and like he hopes that he's not being too pushy and wants to respect my boundaries, but he thinks I'm a very special girl. He even says that if I don't want to move to Texas for him, that he would be willing to make the move to come up to New Hampshire for me. You can pause to read for yourself, but we were basically talking about how like distance wouldn't be sustainable long term and we want to be close to each other. He says he'd move back to New Hampshire for me, but he would love for me to come to Texas. You can also take note of this part here where he's like, I would rather take the chance and wonder. I would rather pursue and wonder. I'd rather try than fail. Like, if you've talked to this man, these are phrases that you have definitely heard out of his mouth. He uses the same phrases when he talks to everyone, but we'll get to that. But you got to go to part 3. If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this series. Welcome to Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Gonna Marry? Part 3. This video is solely for educational purposes. No hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is either my personal experience, opinions, or alleged. I picked up that he was love bombing me pretty quickly. It was pretty obvious. But I really thought that I had 2 choices. I could either let my struggles in my previous relationship ruin what could potentially be an amazing connection by having up all of these walls and being suspicious, or I could go in kind of aware that I'm being love bombed, but like just embrace someone actually like caring about me and wanting to be nice to me. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't. I'm trying to get through this as quickly as I can, but there's just so much. So he's calling me, FaceTiming me every night, which I don't know how he has time to, because what I know now is that he was talking to dozens and dozens of other girls, but I'll get to that in a later part. He is asking me what my dream engagement ring is like, and he called my original dream engagement ring ugly, which should have been my first sign to get the fuck out. But he's telling me how platinum is better than gold, and he wants to give me an 8-carat engagement ring because he wants to put an ice skating rink or ice rink on my finger, whatever the fuck that means, and that it's a symbol of how hard a man works and how a man cares for his woman, like really, really weird stuff. And then he's scrolling. His favorite thing to do would be to scroll on homes.com. So he would tell me that he wanted to buy a house. He would scroll on homes.com and share a screen with me and go through each home and like tell me what projects he would do in the home, which like, that's nice. But one day it was he wanted a home in Texas. The next day he wanted a home in Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida ladies, beware. Then he'd want a home in New England instead. And then one day he didn't want a home at all. He decided that he was going to buy a yacht and we would travel the world on this yacht. And he'd hire a crew for the yacht and get his boating license. And then one day it was a jet instead. He'd rather jet around the world with his pilot license, or he really wanted a Ferrari on Facebook Marketplace. Like, he would get tunnel vision for these projects. Like, there would be something new every other week that he was just like obsessed with, and then it would just like drop off. He would always send me stuff like this. He was constantly asking me to visit him in Texas, so we booked a flight for the last week of January. But before that, he came back to New Hampshire on January 15th because his brother was having a bachelor ski trip, and he was home in New Hampshire for one day. His brother was getting married, and he just kept saying that this wedding was happening and that he was the best man, and he wasn't asking me to go, but he just kept talking about how his brother's getting married in May. That'll be important later, but we go on this date on January 15th. He picks me up. He comes to my house. He says that he's coming to the door. I say, please don't come to the door. My parents are home, and I'm not really ready to, like, introduce them to anyone. And he just says, I'm coming to the door. Like, he completely disregards me. He meets my mother, tells her that he's going to take good care of me, and we go on our way. We have an amazing time. We shut down this bar, 4 hours, same thing as before, amazing conversation. Like, I'll spare you guys the details. And when I came home, like, I journal a lot and I write a lot when I do journal. I came home that night and I was so smitten with this man. Like, I wrote two sentences on January 15th, and I said, it's game over. I love him. Because I truly, truly thought that I was gonna... The next day, he leaves for his brother's bachelor trip. He texts me the entire time nonstop, to the point where I tell him, like, go have fun with your brother and your friends. Like, you don't need to worry about texting me. It's fine. And he just insists that he just loves talking to me so much. And he leaves and goes back to Texas right from the bachelor trip, so I don't see him. And the next 2 weeks leading up to me going to visit him in Texas, it's just nonstop. I can't wait to see you. It's going to be so magical. I'm going to take you to a rodeo, a concert. I'm going to buy you a pair of boots. Like, just making crazy plans, which I'll tell you about in part 4. If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to listen to this series. This is Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry, part 4. This video is solely for educational purposes. There's no hate to anyone involved. Everything is my opinion, my experience, or alleged. I'm going to cut out a lot of the small details because this would be 100 parts if I keep going the way that I'm going, so I'll just give you guys the timeline and then we can talk about what happened when my video went viral. So the weekend of January 24th, I flew down to Fort Worth to visit him. This is us. We went to a rodeo. He took me to do all sorts of things. We went to a rodeo, we went to concerts, we went to bars. He took me shopping at Takova's, and I tried on a bunch of boots and, like, danced around the store, and he bought me a pair of boots. He branded them with my initials on them. Like, we did so much stuff. It was during this time we first became physically intimate with each other, and I remember asking about protection, and he told me how he was clean because he had to take a test for the military, and how he hadn't been physically intimate with anyone for a long time, so he didn't have any protection, and he didn't like using protection. It had been about a year since he was with someone, like, all this stuff. Come to find out, that was not true. He was with someone the day before I was there. So that is, I can't even talk about it because I feel so disgusting in my body, but, like, stay safe out there. Don't let anyone convince you not to use protection, and don't trust anyone. By this point too, we had the conversation about us being exclusive. We weren't officially dating. We both said that we were not seeing other people. That only turned out to be true on my part, unfortunately. Now that we've been physically intimate, he told me he wanted to imply a no clothes in the bed rule, because being skin to skin with your partner brings you closer to them. I was fine with this. I actually thought that this was really sweet. Looking back, it's not. He did want to be close to me. He held on to me all night, every night. Like, just the most incredible closeness and just, like, vulnerability that you could ever feel with a person is what I thought that we were sharing. By my last day in Fort Worth, we had already planned for me to come back the first week of March, so a little ways away. He also asked me if I would like to join him on a work trip to Hawaii. Of course, I said yes. I was having a great time. I'd never been to Hawaii. Like, everything was going so well. So we had those two things planned. Between my first trip to Fort Worth and the second trip to Fort Worth, same stuff, like FaceTiming, talking about the future. Again, I'm not going to waste the details just for the sake of time. Beginning of March rolls around. I'm back in Texas. At this point, we're talking, like, when we get married, I'm gonna marry you, touchy-feely, like, when we're old. Like, he had back problems, so he was like, when I get older, you're gonna help me put my socks on. I was like, oh my god, like, yeah, that's what a partnership is for. Like, he's, like, really planning for the future. Let's have another really fun weekend in Fort Worth. I meet a bunch of his friends who are super kind. He takes me to the Drover for espresso martinis. We go to a concert at Billy Bob's. We went to Second Rodeo. Just, like, a bunch of just all the stuff in the stockyards. Really, really great, amazing time. We get back to his place, like we're dancing around the kitchen at night. He's teaching me how to Texas two-step, like just so being so romantic. Like, again, I can't even express how amazing this man was and how much this felt like a movie. When we were physical together, like I just couldn't believe the moments that we were sharing. I now know that those were probably all staged. I don't know how you can stage intimate moments like that. It's very concerning, but I, again, head over heels. He's telling me everything but I love you, like you're an amazing person, we're gonna grow old together, we're planning our life together. I'm planning to move down there at this point because he had already been asking me if I wanted to move down there. Now he was like dead set on me being down in Texas. Like he cleaned out half his closet for me. He's like, you can put your stuff here, I need to refresh my rug. Like he wanted me there. And with how well things were going, I was starting to open up to the idea, and I was trying to see if I could get my job to be fully remote or potentially find a new job. That way I could go and be down there with him. And he kept telling me, the day I drive my truck up to get you in New Hampshire is going to be the best day of my life. I can't wait to have you here. Like, just all this stuff. He takes me to this diner that he frequents for breakfast and brunch. He's friends with the staff. I'm just amazed at like how well connected this guy is and how much good company he keeps. He's taking me on his Sunday errands to like wash his truck, which that's just like a whole other thing. This weekend in Fort Worth is wrapping up, and now we're both dead set on our trip to Hawaii, which is in 2 weeks. So we're planning for that. I'm buying bikinis, buying outfits. He's like, last time I went to Hawaii, I did XYZ. Like, we're just planning out the whole thing, and we're both very, very excited. And I'll tell you about Hawaii in part 5. If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this video series. Welcome to Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? Part 5. Disclaimer, this video is for educational purposes. No hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is in my personal experience, opinion, or alleged. Just in case anyone needs a refresher, this is who we're talking about. I've known him for over 20 years, and I have been his girlfriend / seeing him since Thanksgiving of this past year. I thought I was talking too slow in the first parts, and I think I talked too fast in the most recent one. I left out a lot of stuff, so I'm going to share some random details before we talk about Hawaii. The love bombing was still continuing. He was telling me he's never felt like this before. He gets butterflies when he sees me. This feels so right, yada, yada, yada. He would constantly pay for everything. I offered to pay for stuff all the time, but he told me there's like a 90-10 rule. He had a provider mindset, which I respect. I respected, but never expected. I always expected to be an equally contributing partner in my relationships. He just wouldn't let me. He's very insistent on buying things and spending money on me. I also forgot to mention the first time I visited him in Texas, he asked me to be his date to his brother's wedding. That was in May. He also asked me if I would be his date to a wedding in Florida where he didn't yet have a +1, but he was going to ask his friends if he could bring me. Also, I'm not going to touch heavily on this because it is very personal and I want to respect this person's privacy, even though they clearly do not respect me in any capacity. He also had a lot of family problems going on, and that deeply, deeply affected him to the point where I didn't ask about it because I knew the attitude would just shift, if you know what I mean. So anyway, we leave for Hawaii on March 18th, and the trip is absolutely incredible. This part is where it's going to get really hard for me to talk about, but this was us on the trip. This was the day he asked me to officially be his girlfriend. He planned it out. He took me to a spot to watch the sunset. He said he had it planned out for weeks, and he said that now whenever we come back to Hawaii, because at this point he would go once a year for work, that we would have a place. And I just can't even explain like the connection that I thought that we had and how deeply, deeply in love I was with him and how deeply I thought he was giving me back that love when he wasn't. We truly made such a good team. We rented a Jeep. We drove around the island. He worked. I did my own thing. We met back at the hotel. We planned out our days and nights. The weekend when he wasn't working, like we just had so many things that we were hitting. We just drove around the island, and he was just constantly telling me that we're such a good team and that he loves how I'm adventurous and fun and that he just like loves doing life with me. And he's just driving the Jeep, he's holding my hand, like kissing the top of my hand, just like looking over at me while he's driving in all our places. Like you get the details. Like it is so hard for me to talk about because that was so real. I was so invested in this. Another photo of us on the beach. Like we just did so many fun things. We saw so many places, ate so much good food. He wanted to get matching tattoos at one point. Thank God I did not do that because I almost did. We did not get matching tattoos, but he brought that up. I did, however, jump out of a plane for this man. We went skydiving, which was super, super fun. Not for him, I did it for myself, but we just did so much. Like, I can't even explain how much fun it was. And I thought that this trip really cemented where our relationship was going. The things that he said to me about how he cannot wait to plan our life together, how the weddings are coming up, we're going to be traveling to Tampa, how we are just so similar, we're so different, but in such good ways. Like, he's just telling me the most incredible things about how I'm the most amazing person he's ever seen. He's never had a connection like this. That just like classic stuff, but I really like want you to sit with me, and I know that I'll never be able to explain this to someone without having them physically be me and be in those moments, but it is so terrifying how he was so sweet and genuine and caring in those moments. Meanwhile, he was on Hinge back in Fort Worth, talking to girls in Fort Worth while he was with me in Hawaii. I did not know that at the time. Saying everything but I love you. You know how it is in a new relationship when I really like you, I really like you, I adore you, I love this about you. Like, just absolutely, just incredible, like, private moments. They're all, like, I don't know why I'm smiling. They're all ruined now. And I think that that's something with this whole process that I've experienced, is that I can make jokes on the internet as much as I want to. I can say that he is just a man, but at the end of the day, these are real things that I experienced, and I will have to figure out how to trust somebody fully again after just learning how to trust somebody fully again. Yeah, but I'll get to that in part 6. If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I highly suggest that you watch the series. Welcome to part 6 of Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? This video is for educational purposes. There's no hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is either my opinion, experience, or alleged. I glossed over the Hawaii trip. There was a lot more detail and small moments, mostly just in his mannerisms toward me, like the way that he would look at me. But I genuinely just can't talk about those right now because I will turn into a puddle. So we'll move on. By the end of the Hawaii trip, he kind of had it in his head that we could be travel influencers. I already have somewhat of a platform because I was a skincare influencer in like 2022. If you remember that, you probably haven't seen me on your For You page in like 3 years, so hey. The Hawaii trip is over at this point. We're in the airport ready to go home, but we're on separate flights because I was going back to New Hampshire. He was going to Texas. He was waiting for me to get on my flight because I boarded first, so he waited for me. I was the literal last person to get on the plane because I always do that because I don't want to sit on the plane if I don't have to. I scanned my boarding pass, and he stood there and waited for me and watched me and said goodbye as I cleared the tunnel into boarding the plane. And it like I sat down on the plane, he instantly texted me, said, "I miss you already." The next thing that we have to look forward to is this wedding in Florida. It's his friend's wedding. He's officiating the wedding now, so they gave him a +1, and he asked me to be his +1. So we have about a month and a half to go, and that's the next time we're going to see each other. So a week after Hawaii, everything's great. He's texting me, I'm texting him, or FaceTime as usual. Another week passes, amazing, I miss you, I miss you. 2 weeks after Hawaii, things start to change. So many people are going to roll their eyes when I say this, but I'm an extremely intuitive person. I pick up on shifts in tone, text messages, like I just pick up on all of that stuff. That being said, I'm also a very communicative person, so in my relationships, communication is key for me. If something feels off, I'm going to say it. I will never push for an explanation, but I will never not bring it up for the sake of my own sanity. I noticed little by little that he's not texting me as much. He's not texting me first thing in the morning. He never texts me goodnight anymore. He stops calling me babe, baby girl. Like, he called me babe, like, after every sentence. Like, he just stopped doing those things. And I didn't think a whole lot of it because at this point, his work situation was not the best and he was very stressed, and I was trying to give him grace, give him space. But at the same time that he was being weird with me, he was just continuing to go out with his friends. This man was a very social person, so I'm not going to knock that. I'm going to leave it for what it is. He was always doing something, whether it was a rodeo, a concert, going out with his CrossFit guys after. He's just a very busy person. So I was just giving him space. I'm like, it kind of sucks that he's not texting me. I could see he was at like a bar because I could see his location. And I really, really tried to not let it affect me. I just brought up casually. I said, hey, I know you've been a little distant lately. Like, is everything okay? Are we okay? What's going on? He assures me everything's fine. I have nothing to worry about. He's just stressed at work and that he'll be better about texting me when he goes out. And I wasn't asking for much. I was just asking for a simple, hey, like if it's a Friday, I would ask like, hey, I'm not going to be able to text you much this weekend, which I personally believe anyone can make time to communicate with you. But all I needed was, hey, it's Friday. I'm going out with friends this weekend. I'll catch up with you when I can. Good. Like, I was just asking for very basic communication. He didn't really make much of an effort. If anything, he got more distant, and I truly, truly tried to not make myself go crazy. So I was keeping myself busy. I was trying to be like, hey, can we book our plane tickets for Florida? We're planning the Florida wedding. I had invested in dresses for not only the Florida wedding, but also his brother's wedding. So we planned to do Florida, and then the next week he would come back to New England because that's where his brother's wedding would be. And I asked him if he wanted to get dinner with my parents. And if I had to put a pin in where the relationship went wrong, looking back on everything, it would be this exact moment. I said, let's get dinner with my parents, like while you're here so they can like meet you as my partner. He just replied with, I would rather myself than sit at a table with my mother. I was so caught off guard. And he continued to send me a couple texts saying like, we've talked about this. I don't understand why you would suggest that. And there was a miscommunication. He thought I was asking to get dinner with his parents, which like I said, family situation, bad. Not going to touch it. Not going to talk about it. And I texted him back and I said, no, I meant getting dinner like with my parents. I would never want to like impede on your family, and I would never force like a relationship that's not there. That's not my place. Like I didn't, and I apologize. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. He just laughs it off. He said, oh, haha, sorry. You know how I am with my family. I misread, like trying to brush it off. And I just kind of let it go. But the more I sat with this, the more it bothered me that he would speak to me that way. So I just simply communicated that. I said, hey, I know you really didn't mean it that way and that your family is touchy, but I really didn't appreciate how you spoke to me. It made me feel like I did something wrong, and I didn't. And also, even if I had suggested dinner with your parents, you don't share all the information with me regarding them, so I don't really know what to do with that, and you can't treat me as if I have all the information and suggest these things. Like, I simply just set a boundary. And he just leaves me on red, and I don't hear from him at all through the evening. I don't hear from him until the next morning. And I like looking at his location just to like see what he's doing, not even thinking anything of it. And I see he's at Second Rodeo, another like saloon bar that's down in the Fort Worth area. And then I see that he's in some random apartment complex in Plano, Texas. I'm sorry, I don't really know how to pronounce the towns. I just noticed that he's at like a random apartment at like 3 a.m. But I just assumed that he was with his friends. But I'll tell you about that in part 7. If you're a single woman from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this series. Welcome to part 7 of Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? This is solely for educational purposes, no hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is either my experience, my opinion, or alleged. We're starting to get to the weird stuff, to the shocking stuff, to the whole reason why I made this like 20-part series, because we haven't even gotten to why I'm here on your For You page and why my videos have been blowing up. If you haven't seen the other parts, you should go watch them. I put them in a playlist on my page. You can just scroll through. Everything is there. If you need a refresher, this is who we're talking about. My ex-boyfriend who lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, who I've known for over 20 years of my life. To figure out where we are on the timeline, this next part of the story happened about 2.5-3 weeks ago, so we're getting pretty close to present day. And it's just really bad all around. Like, we're FaceTiming, the FaceTime calls are dry, bland, not really talking about a lot. I was having a hard time with my job. He's having a hard time at his job. We're going back and forth. I'm like kind of asking if everything's okay. He tells me everything's fine. Deep down, I knew that I was losing him. Like, worst feeling ever. Didn't want to admit it. Didn't want to push him away, but also didn't want to sit in anxiety with no answers. So I was very strategic about when I brought certain things up. One of our FaceTime calls, he tells me that he's considering going back into the military. I don't want to talk about that aspect. Just know that he was considering going back into the military, and he's about to age out of the military. So the first thing I said when he told me this was, if now's your chance, I think you should do it, because if it's your dream, you should do it. And he goes into this whole thing about how he would never drag me through military life, how it's like really hard, there's a 90% divorce rate, like throwing all of these statistics at me that made me like really nervous. And I didn't want to say like, I'll follow you around wherever, because I need to figure stuff out in my life first. But he's basically framing it up in a way of he's doing me a favor and he would never want to put me through that hardship, which seemed really admirable. I'm really going to skip over this whole military conversation because it makes me uncomfortable, but he basically just starts talking instead of we, he talks in I, like, you know the drill when someone is checked out of a relationship, like, you know, and he just starts saying things that I think he was trying to make me upset, so I would cause a fight, but I was being very cautious of his feelings. I didn't want to tell him to stay and not go, even though that's how I felt. So I was supportive of him because at the end of the day, I cared about him so much that I would rather have him be happy without me than be miserable and have missed out on his goals because of me. At this point too, he completely stopped about me moving down to Fort Worth with him, even though I was getting ready to move, like making very serious choices, thinking that this was my future. And every time I would say, I miss you, he wouldn't say anything. Every time I'd say, oh yeah, when I'm down in Texas, he would like brush it off, like not say anything. He never talked about me being down in Texas anymore. Like the writing was on the wall and I just knew, but I didn't want to let go yet. A few days go by, nothing improves. He's still dry texting me. He's not sending me hearts. He's not calling me babe, not saying good morning, not saying good night, just being extremely distant. And I'm trying to be respectful and not be an annoying girlfriend, but I can see that he's going out at night. I never told him that I was looking at his location because I just didn't want to be like crazy, because at the time I had no reason to look at his location. I was just like wondering why he was at a bar and not able to text me. Like that's simply all it was at the time. So eventually I sent him this text and I said, hey, it really bothers me that you're out at bars, and I go into how he's not treating me right and how we have this weird thing and I don't know what's going on. We haven't booked our tickets to Florida. Like I'm very confused. I invested money in dresses, gifts, like all of this stuff. And he just keeps telling me he doesn't have answers, he doesn't have time. He makes it very clear he doesn't want to have this conversation anymore, and he goes dark. And he gives me the silent treatment for 2 straight days. For 2 days, I am just trying to give him space. Meanwhile, I'm just carrying such heavy anxiety. I'm trying to focus on work. I can't sleep. I get stressed because I see that he's going to bars. I keep saying that, but like that's all he did. And then he would end up at these random apartments at 2 a.m. Here's an example. He would end the night here after the bars. He would be here for like 2 hours and then go home at like 3 a.m. And he would go as far as going like 45 minutes away from his apartment. Like, it was very odd. And when I saw this screenshot, I saved specifically because I just had a gut feeling that he was with someone else, but I just pushed it down and pushed it down and pushed it down because I did not want to think that. I had no reason to think that at this time. When we first started seeing each other, we talked about our non-negotiables for a relationship, and I said being yelled at, being laughed at, and being given the silent treatment were 3 deal breakers for me, and he agreed. He told me silent treatment was emotionally mature, because it is. Yet here he was, giving me the silent treatment for 2 days over virtually nothing. So after 2 days, I reach out to him and I say, hey, this isn't fair to me. I don't deserve this. I feel like you're punishing me, and I don't know why. Can you please give me some answers, or at least let me know you're okay? And he replies instantly with a photo of his truck. Somebody had slammed into it, and the only text that he gives me is, I'm fucked. Nothing else. I ask him, are you okay? Silent. This man did not give a fuck that I was in another state, unable to help him, that he just sent me a picture of him being in a car accident with absolutely no explanation whatsoever. Like, he simply did not care. I did not hear from him for days after that. I've been really bad about including my receipts, but here's the screenshot. So he sends me this. He says, I'm fucked. I said, oh fuck. Are you okay? He doesn't answer, and then I text him in the morning just asking if we can talk, because it's not fair that he's just simply not communicating to me. And what I now know, which I'll get into how I know this really, really soon, I promise, is that he was on his way to a date with another girl from his gym when he got in this car accident. He bailed on the date with her, sorted everything out with the police, and then drove his car to the Fort Worth stockyards and took out another girl from his CrossFit gym on another date. This is a screenshot from the girl he was supposed to be going on a date with before he got in the car accident. She commented on my TikTok, and I only know that he actually went on a date with another girl because someone in my DMs who's close to him said that he saw him with a girl that night. So I know that there were 2 girls, because she said that she didn't meet up with him, and they said that he was there with another girl that was also from CrossFit. Crazy. But I'll tell you how I found all that out in part 8. If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you should watch this series. Welcome to part 8 of Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? This is solely for educational purposes, no hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is either my experience, my opinion, or alleged. So last we spoke, he was taking a girl on a date, got in a car accident, went on a date with another girl. Keep in mind, I still did not know that, so I was still at home receiving the silent treatment from him, and I'm going to kind of fast forward through the next week or so because it is kind of repetitive. It's just the same patterns of silence, dryness, me asking for connection, me reaching out, me him space because he has a deeply avoidant attachment style, and I knew the more I pushed, the more he pulled. I admittedly have an anxious attachment style, and this triggered every aspect of that, and it took so much for me to just have the patience and grace and not say the things I actually wanted to say. And I did have a couple moments that weren't my best, but nothing major. We basically just go the rest of the week not really talking. Every time we have contact, it's me reaching out and him either talking to me as if nothing else is going on. He'd be like, oh yeah, I'm golfing with my buddies today. To the point where I just said, I need you to FaceTime me right now and we need to sort this out for real. I am glossing over all of the personal details, again, for the sake of time, and having to relive it is difficult, but the few days leading up to this FaceTime call, which was our breakup, and I'll get into that, I was just inconsolable, crying in the shower, sitting down in the shower, sobbing every night into my pillow. I'm not saying that to be woe is me, I'm just saying that this sent me into such a bad place, and this man did not care. To be fair, he did not know, but he did not make the effort to know. I FaceTime him and he's just talking about his work and his job and blah, 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 and I cut him off and I just said, I need you to give it to me straight. What's the deal with the weddings? Are we together? Are we not? I need you to tell me point blank to my face and why. And he basically breaks up with me. He does break up with me, I guess, vaguely, and gives me a non-answer about how it's not you, it's me. He tried to go into, I need to love myself, which I cut him off very quickly, and I said, I have never depended on you for self-love. I do not need you here. I want you here. And I've never done anything that would ever suggest I am dependent on you for self-love. He tried to pull out basically every cliche in the book and ultimately just decided that he doesn't know where he's going with his life right now. The situation with his car sent him into a spiral. He's now in debt. His job is going badly. Just all of this perfect storm stuff. And I was really sympathetic to that. And he broke up with me. And we ended the conversation by saying that I was no longer going to the wedding in Tampa with him, and that we would meet up before Memorial Day weekend when he was back in New England before his brother's wedding, and that I could potentially go to his brother's wedding with him if I wanted to be there. And the last thing I told him on that FaceTime call was, I know that now you're technically single. I just want you to know, if you so much as get someone's number, kiss someone, hook up with someone, I will not be able to pursue this any further. And I'm not saying that as a threat. I'm saying that if you do something like that, I know about it, and we get back together, I will not be able to let it go, and you don't deserve that. And I don't deserve to be in that position, and then you don't deserve to have it thrown in your face if I decide to get back together with you. You guys know what I mean? And he assured me that there was nobody else. It wasn't about the weddings. He has no intentions of finding another date, and that it's just about him, and he just needs to sort out his shit. This was our text exchange right after we kind of sort of broke up. He broke up with me, but we were still in contact, and we had decided that we were going to see each other at this point over Memorial Day weekend. At this time, he also got multiple pieces of bad news, and he was just really going through a lot, and I was really empathetic towards that, and I was really just putting my feelings aside and trying to be there for him. I offered to get on a plane to see him. He just left me on red. He was golfing with his friends, I later found out, and then I just said, I'm giving you the space. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm here. I don't know how many times I can say I'm here, and then I told him in a few weeks I'd love to see you. He kind of reached out and sent these weird evasive messages, so I just repeated myself and said, let's talk everything out face to face, when I come see you. And he then starts going to how he doesn't have any answers, he doesn't have anything to lay out, and so I just said, fine, I'll leave you alone. And the only thing I asked is if he would acknowledge in some way if this is what he wants. And he left me on read. These are all of our final messages, but I'll start with this one at the top. He left me on read for 2 days after I asked for some sort of acknowledgement. He just said he doesn't have the answers that he can give me, like very evasive, very non-answer. Ignore this stuff for now. I'll get into that in a little bit. I never replied to his initial message because I was truly just so heartbroken. I could not accept the fact that I was losing what I thought was my person. I just kept replaying all these incredible moments and looking back at what an amazing human being I thought he was, and just figuring out what went wrong, like what happened, how did he flip a switch, like is it that he cares about me but he can't express it, is it that he just doesn't care about me, like what is it? I was going through it basically alone, so I confided in my mom and I confided in my best friend, who just said all signs point to there being another person or him just being emotionally avoidant in the worst way possible, and you could not convince me that there was another person. I told her, I said, I'm so confident there is no one else. There hadn't been any signs. Like, this man is crazy about me. I feel it in my bones. Like, I'm crazy about him. Like, I just don't think it's that. I think he has a lot going on, and because I'm so far away, I'm the easiest thing for him to cut off in his life right now. Like, really blaming myself. And she says, have you downloaded Hinge? And I'll talk about that in the next part. If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this series. This is Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? Part 9. The purpose of this video is to spread awareness, no hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is either my opinion, my experience, or alleged. I just want to clear something up before I get started. I was never engaged or about to marry this person. The title from this series was inspired by Risa Tisa's series, Who the Fuck Did I Marry? Definitely go watch her content. I just thought that everyone was as chronically online as me and would get the reference. I was not trying to rip her off, and I was not going to marry this person. Thank God. I just really thought that this was my person, and I thought someday that we would get married. We talked about getting married all the time. He said he wanted to marry me. If you've seen all the other parts, you know what I'm saying. Just as a reminder, this is who we're talking about. My boyfriend of the past few months. We have been in contact since Thanksgiving, and we're dating up until about a week or so ago. My best friend asks if I've looked for him on Hinge. She offers to use her profile to find him on Hinge. I swear up and down, no, there's no way, no feelings, I told her, I have absolutely no interest in doing that. I'm not going to go looking for things either. Why would I drive myself crazy if I have no reason to? Right? But the more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe I should create a Hinge. I tried to go to bed to ignore the feeling, press it down. I woke up at midnight that night with this overwhelming intuitive feeling that you have to make a Hinge account right now. I can't explain it. I woke up, I grabbed my phone, and I started getting to work making this Hinge account. Making this fake profile with a pretty girl. I'm filling all the information, and I am laying bricks. I'm not just making a profile picture. I'm making sure it's in his neighborhood, the mileage is turned down, the age is turned down, so it's only in such a small radius so that if he is on Hinge, I find his profile, and I lay bricks. And what I mean by that specifically is I made sure the details of this profile were pristine. For example, I made sure her hometown was in Rhode Island because I knew that he would be there over Memorial Day weekend for his brother's wedding, and I wanted to see if he would either ask to go on a date with her or ask her to be his date to his brother's wedding. So I get to swiping, I get through 10 profiles, and it says that there's no one in your area, and I just let it go, and I go to bed. I'm like, okay, this was silly. I don't know why I'm overthinking. I wake up the next morning, make my coffee, sit outside, pull up my phone, and pull up Hinge. This was the first thing that I saw when I opened the app, and my heart dropped. So I text my friend and I tell her, oh my gosh, he's on Hinge, you were right. What do I do? What do I do with this information? I'm freaking out. And she tells me to take a step back because if you delete the Hinge app but don't delete your profile, you still show up on people's Discover page. And I know this because when I downloaded the app, I had previously had Hinge before talking to this person, and my profile had 250 plus likes, and I know I hadn't used it in months. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna send him a message and we'll see what he says. I feel like it wasn't even 2 minutes that went by before he matched with me after I sent him this message, and he immediately messages this girl. Her name is Elle. That's the name that I gave her. And if you notice, the first thing that he brings up is how on hell did you end up here from Rhode Island? So I make up this little backstory. One of my friends has been down here, needed a roommate, been here for about 6 months, and I love it. I ask him about the school that he went to and if he's from New England originally. He immediately says, that's pretty spontaneous. He was always talking about being spontaneous and spontaneity and being the runaway child. And a few things to note in this message is that he immediately asks me what I do for work and if it allows me to relocate easily. And then he comments that he has a huge wedding in Providence next weekend and immediately asks this girl to fly home and be his +1. I knew he was going to bring up the wedding or the fact that I lived in Rhode Island and wanted to meet up. I did not expect him to ask a literal stranger on the second message that he ever sent to her to be his date to his brother's wedding. So I just said I consider myself to be spur of the moment because I knew he'd like that. I make up that I work in marketing, and then I say, this is insane, but I'm going to be home for Memorial Day weekend. Weddings are so fun. I find it hard to believe you don't already have a date. He then again asks if she's fully remote. This is important for a later message. He then asks if she would like to come to his brother's wedding with him. He said he'll be in the wedding party, but he'll be able to help out the bride and groom while also being attentive to her, and that he'd love to have her there. And this was like a punch to the gut because I, as Casey, was supposed to be at that wedding. His family knew, and I know that because I talked to his father at one point. Like, his family knew about me and about our relationship. I don't know if they knew everything else. I really hope not. And I'm just gonna not think about that. So I make up a job that says I'm able to be fully remote, and then I tell him that I actually have a wedding on the Cape in June, and I'll be the date to his if he wants to be the date to mine, and that maybe we should meet up first. And at this point, the plan was so innocent. Me and my friend were going to catfish him. We were going to set up a date, and then I was going to show up as Casey. Because up until this entire point in this entire series, I am very well aware that, yeah, there's some weirdness going on, but this is a black and white relationship of, like, boy cheats on girl, and nothing super serious has happened yet. So just take that for what it is. He asks if he can have this girl's number. I play it off and I just say, I don't want to give you my number yet. I've had some weird experiences. Let's get to know each other first. So he tells me a little bit about himself. Nobody cares about that, so I'm going to skip over it. And he starts going into that he's flying out for a different wedding. He's going to be back on Monday or Tuesday before he goes back to New England and wants to meet me in Fort Worth first. He says he's officiating this wedding, that it's in Tampa. It's on Thursday. It's extremely formal, all black, on the water, and figures it would be too spontaneous to take me to this one. I keep the conversation going, and then I start trying to pivot into, why are you on Hinge? I tell him he's so handsome and he seems really cool, and I can't believe he's looking for a long-term connection because that's what his profile said. I was like, there has to be more to the story. You're too perfect. I say, wow, another wedding. I tell him don't tempt me with a good time, and then unfortunately that I'm flying home on Sunday, so I can't meet him in Fort Worth, and that I'm visiting some friends in Boston before heading home to Rhode Island. He replies back and said that there is a catch, that he's going back into the military. I'm going to redact some of this just because it's very specific and that's not the goal of this whatsoever, but that he's still looking for a long-term relationship or life partner, and he doesn't know if he'll ever find someone that's going to be willing to go with him wherever the military sends him. And from what I've seen, I believe that this is a copy-paste message that he has sent to multiple people, and I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. Then he says the wedding he's officiating is this Thursday, the one in Florida. So if you have a long black dress and want to FaceTime me first, it's not too late. I'd book you a flight. I need a dance partner. This crushed my soul when I read it, but not as much as it crushed me when I saw this. So I don't have the screenshot, but I sent a message before and I said, if you don't mind, I'd love to know a little bit about you, not to waste time. When was your last relationship and why did it end? And he says that it ended a little over a year ago. Healthy relationship. She wasn't a bad person. She just acted different when she drank, and he didn't like that. Yada, yada, yada. This is not true, by the way. When I saw this as Casey, I felt heartbroken. He was dating me, I believe, up until like a day or two prior to this point, and he told me this exact script when we first started talking, when I asked about being physically intimate. He said the last person he was physically intimate was about a year ago. This just did not add up, and I lost my mind. And I will tell you about that in the next part. If you're a single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this series. Welcome to Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? Part 10. This video is for educational purposes. There's no hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is either my experience, my opinion, or alleged. I know I said I was going to take everything down, and I've been going back and forth on this. However, these are things that I have experienced firsthand. This is my truth. This is my experience, and I am not going to let anyone silence me, especially with the information that I have found out the past 48 hours. I have the support of so many on the internet, which I wish I could hug each of you individually. I have the support of friends, family. Like, I truly feel as though the universe put me in this awful situation because the universe knew that I was strong enough to handle it. I have decided that I am not afraid of anyone. and I'm going to put this out there because people need to know just how truly diabolical and how far this thing goes, because it's not just about me. I am very aware that up until this point, this whole story has just been about me and is a very typical boyfriend cheats on girlfriend. However, I truly was trying to give you the backstory and just express how much and how real this relationship was for me, and how deeply I was invested, and how deeply and how much I believed that this person was truly invested in me. I thought that they were going to give me the world because that's what they promised to me. So I'm going to try to wrap up my part of the story as quick as possible and get into the details of why I'm online, why I'm sharing this, and just how bad it truly is. Last we spoke, I was telling you how I was talking to this person on Hinge using a fake profile. I just want to put a side note in there that I did this with multiple profiles. My friends did this with profiles. We had 5 or 6 fake profiles going at a time where he was just saying the same things. We would send him a like, he would match us instantly, message instantly, and immediately start talking about how he's going away, how he's going to these weddings, how he's looking for a life partner. It was the same conversation every single time. To give you an understanding of how chronically on Hinge this person was, they were supposed to be officiating a wedding that, to my knowledge, started at 4:30. And he was messaging these fake profiles at like 3:50. And to my knowledge, all throughout the reception, because he was talking to these fake profiles all night. I truly do not know what he was doing or why he didn't want to be present at who he claims was his best friend's wedding. But I confronted him before this person even left to go to Florida. I called him immediately after I saw the message of him offering to fly out some random girl he didn't know to Florida, and then also ask her to be his date to his brother's wedding. I gave him a FaceTime call. On this FaceTime call, he's packing, telling me he's really busy. I'm trying to talk to him. He's doing whatever. And I asked him, I said, hey, I really just need to know why you broke up with me. Like, why? I don't care if it's the meanest thing you've ever said to someone. I don't care if it's the way I brush my teeth or whatever. Like, just tell me, what is the reason you broke up with me? He just tells me the same stuff. It's not you, it's me. I'm really busy. I'm just not ready for a relationship. This is too much. I have a lot to work out. There's a lot going on in my life. I'm leaving, blah, blah, blah. I cut him off. And I said, really? Because you told Elle from Hinge that you were looking for a life partner and someone to follow you wherever the military takes you. So what's up with that? This man freezes. He goes silent. He doesn't move a muscle. I wish I could see his face, but I could only see from here up because he was packing. And I make sure to sit there in that uncomfortableness and in that silence and not say a word. I wait for him to speak, and it feels like an eternity. Once he starts talking, he immediately starts backpedaling, apologizing, telling me he just downloaded Hinge yesterday, and the only reason he downloaded Hinge is because he needed a date to his brother's wedding. Because allegedly, a bunch of people couldn't attend, allegedly saying it would cost the bride and groom money if the seats weren't filled, that he just needed a body, that he was trying to take his guy friends with him, but no one could go, that he just needed a body. He just kept saying that, and that was the only reason he was on Hinge. He swore up and down it was. He apologized, and of course I knew this was complete bullshit. At this point, I truly believed that he had downloaded Hinge after we broke up. Although I had a feeling he might have had it during, but I had no proof and I didn't want to throw that out there. But I was mad. I was hurt. I was angry. Not only how could you do this to me? How could you replace me? How could you fly random girls out to take my spot next to you? I was supposed to be by your side. Just all of this stuff. I was upset. And he was just saying, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Like all of this stuff. And he throws out that allegedly the real reason he broke up with me was because of my mental health and the fact that I take an antidepressant. He tells me that he's uncomfortable with this because he didn't grow up around it, he doesn't understand it, he doesn't use it, which is totally valid. I'm not shaming that because it's not for everyone, and I fully respect everyone's choices on how to take care of their mental health. However, he then tells me that once he found out that I took medication, that it made him significantly less attracted to me, and that's why he had been dropping off the most recent 2 weeks. And I kind of just thought that this was so random. I didn't understand it. Like, I respected it, I guess. It hurt my feelings. He kept saying he didn't want to tell me because he knew it would hurt my feelings, which maybe that was true. But I don't believe anything that comes out of this man's mouth is true. So I'm just trying to process all of this. It was so random. He had never brought this up before. And then I get upset because I never put my mental health in somebody else's hands. I take very good care of myself. I have depression. Most people do. And I take the steps. I work out. I get up early. I make sure I don't scroll first thing in the morning, last thing before I go to bed. I do take medication. It is something that helps me in conjunction with taking care of my body, taking care of my brain, and just overall being there for myself. Because I know if I'm there for myself and I love me first, I am able to give that energy back and have a healthy, happy relationship. And that was the goal here. At this point, I realized I need to respect myself and move on. I'm never going to get the answers that I want from this man. He's telling me all sorts of things. I don't know what's true, if it is true, and I just need to let it go. So we end the conversation. I'm upset. He's just there. I really don't know why he continued to talk to me after I called him out for being on Hinge. I fully expected him to hang up. Like, I don't know why he entertained me for this long. It's very confusing. We kind of talk and say maybe we'll meet up when he's home, maybe we won't. We don't really make any solid plans, just kind of leave it. He offers me to mail my Tacovas back, which I know I'm not getting anymore. So Tacovas, if you're watching this, I'm a size 7. Sorry, that's besides the point. So over the weekend, my friends are telling me that they're still catfishing him, that he's still doing this, and I just tell them, hey, listen, like, I just don't want to see this anymore. He's on Hinge, he's a single man, he's free to do whatever he wants. I need to move on and heal my heart. At this point, he's in Florida, he's posting with other girls, he's at the wedding. I don't know if he ended up taking someone, but I could just see that he's with these like other really pretty blonde girls, and it made me feel insecure, and I decide I'm letting go once and for all. I do a social media deep clean. I unfollow and remove him on every platform, right down to Venmo. I send this incredibly written, raw, vulnerable goodbye text, which I fully regret sending now. He did not deserve to ever read any of that, but I did kind of end it by calling him a weird loser. The last thing I do before I go to sleep that night is stitch an old TikTok video of us saying, never mind, he was on Hinge, and I go to bed. I could never have imagined what I would wake up to the next morning in the rabbit hole that it would send me down, and just the amount of disgusting, appalling, unbelievably shocking information I was about to uncover about who this man was, what he was doing allegedly while we were together, before that, after that, is currently still doing. The list goes on. But I'll talk about that in part 11. If you're a single woman from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you should watch this series. Welcome to Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? Part 11. This video is solely for educational purposes. There's no hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is either my personal experience, opinion, or alleged. Before I get into it, I just want to make a note that I don't make any money from my videos. I have turned off all of my monetization on all of my content. I do not want to profit from the situation financially in any way. So I wake up the next morning and my friend is texting me. She's telling me, oh my gosh, you have to check TikTok. Your video has gone viral. It has almost 1 million views. People are going crazy in the comments. I thought the video went viral because it was a humorous take on such a sad reality in dating in the modern world, but I can't even get into that. I look at the comments and I realize that's not why this video went viral. This video started blowing up because people knew who this person was. They're commenting his name, talking about him. I read dozens of comments of people talking about, I know this person, my friend knows this person. Oh my gosh, is this so-and-so? People recognizing the person that I am talking about. I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy like gets around, and people have not nice things to say about this person. Comments are rolling in by the dozen. My DMs are popping off. People saying, oh my gosh, I had an experience with this person. I know someone who had an experience with this person. I've seen them at the stockyards. They approached me at the gym. I've seen them on Hinge. I've seen them on Bumble. I've seen them on Tinder. I cannot believe what I'm reading. I'm starting to realize this person has a horrible reputation. He's posted on the Dallas-Fort Worth, Are We Dating the Same Man group. People are sending me screenshots. Girls are saying they're currently hooking up with him. They've been hooking up with him for the past like 3 months. The list goes on. The timelines overlap and I just get sick. I feel sick to my stomach. I don't know what to do with this information. This is one of so many posts about this individual. This one alone has 109 comments. You can pause to read the whole thing, but this is a story from a girl who said she was talking to / dating him in the beginning of January. I was also talking to and just starting to kind of date him during this time. The crazy thing to note here is that he asked her to move back to Tampa with him around next year, which she thought was insane, and he replied that he'd be happy to spend more time with him, plan more dates, a bunch of bullshit. If you watch the other parts of my series, you'll remember that one of his quirks was getting really fixated on a goal or a project. He was obsessed with looking for homes. We would scroll on homes.com. We would FaceTime. He would share his screen with me. He would tell me about the houses he wanted to buy either in Texas, but he really wanted to get back to Tampa, that he was so excited to buy a home and we could live in it. This is what he would do. He would put a dog washing station in the garage. He would fence in the yard. He would fix up this. He was so excited about the idea that we were going to have this home together in Tampa. He constantly talked about it. One day he said he was going to buy a home for just us within our means. The next day he said he would buy a house that was above his means, but his friends were going to come live in him with it. It would be like a duplex or something like that. He constantly was just saying, when we get to Florida, when we have our house, we can have dogs. He wanted to get a black lab, name it Bruin. I have a golden retriever. He was constantly saying that I'm getting Calvin's brother, all of this stuff. Comments weren't all bad. Here's an example of a post talking about how he was super kind and respectful and honestly a lot of fun. And this is true. He was kind, respectful, a lot of fun. The most amazing man I ever met until he wasn't. I hate that I'm putting comments out here that might feed his ego, but you can see this person said he was respectful of her boundaries. He was super chill. This was true. Like when we were together, he would make sure I walked on the inside of the sidewalk. He'd hold every door for me, pull out every chair, put on my coat, take off my coat, hold my purse. Like he was a textbook gentleman, and I fell so hard for him. When I was first talking to him, me and my friends would refer to him as AI man because he was too good to be true. There's another comment here that says, is anyone talking to him? I've been hooking up with him for the past 3 months on and off. And this is where it started to get serious. This is where I realized the timelines overlap. This is where my stomach dropped, because now this was not a case of he was on Hinge after we broke up, which is fine, or he was a player before we started dating. The timelines now intersect each other. Up until recently, this girl had posted like a week prior. I was now led to believe that my boyfriend at the time was being physically intimate with other women while also being physically intimate with me and not properly disclosing that. To my knowledge at the time, he had not been hooking up with anybody else. We talked about it and we were not using protection. Before I continue, I just want to sidebar and say you need to be using protection. Do not make the same mistakes that I did. I trusted this person. This is someone who I had grown up with, who was so kind to me. I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, assured me they wanted to marry me, that everything was fine. They told me that it was just me, and it very, very clearly was not. Do not let anyone tell you or convince you that you should not be using protection when being physically intimate. I don't care what they say. Do not trust anybody. This person told me that they were clean, that they had to get STI tested in order to get to the military. I don't know if they actually did that. I don't know if anything's true because all this person does is lie. I don't care who you are, how old you are, what your sexual orientation is. You need to keep yourself safe. Do not let anyone tell you that they don't like to use protection or that they feel weird getting tested or make you feel shame for getting an STI test or that they're clean without proof. It does not matter. Do not put the fate of your sexual health in somebody else's hands. That shit belongs to you. I'm not saying this person pressured me into not using condoms. However, I am saying I knew this person for a very long time. I thought I trusted them. I asked all the right questions. We had the conversations before being physically intimate, and I believe that this person was untruthful. He point blank told me he did not have the proper protections for sex because he had not been having it. And we had the conversations about being exclusive, that we weren't even so much as talking to other people. I believe this person and anyone who does this to be extremely selfish. He has put me and what I believe to be dozens of other women at risk. I have to sit with this anxiety until my appointment on Thursday when I go get tested. I'm going to get off my soapbox in a minute, but everyone should be getting tested regularly. Getting tested for STIs and proper consent is sexy. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having multiple sexual partners. I want to get that straight. However, there is something seriously wrong about not properly sharing your sexual history or being honest with your sexual history or withholding information about your sexual history with the person that you are being physically intimate. It is so incredibly wrong, and in my opinion, it's assault. Getting back into sharing my experience, I wanted to include this last comment that says, let's just say blank should receive an Olympic medal for how he's able to juggle women. This comment is what made me realize that this might be bigger than him just cheating on me with a couple of girls. So I started going through my DMs, I started reading the comments, and what I found shocked me. I'm not talking your typical, hey girly, I saw your man on Hinge type of message. I'm talking ex-girlfriends, ex-situationships, hookups, people from our hometown, people from Tampa, people from Chicago, coworkers, or should I say former coworkers, people who go to his gym, people who coach at his gym, the staff at the cafe that he goes to almost every other day where he gets a plate of eggs and puts an offensive amount of ketchup on it. Everybody and their mother was in my messages or comments. All with the same 2 or 3 stories. They were either dating him, invested in him, or they got weird vibe from him, but he couldn't let go. That all he talked about was marriage, wanting kids, a relationship, distance, going back into the military. All of the same shit. I dated him, but I'm still his friend. My friend dated him. He's a weirdo. People just flat out telling me that they don't like this dude. Allegedly, a few days prior, he was telling this girl that he loved her. Apparently, he'd been posted by multiple girls that thought that they were in some sort of relationship or exclusively talking to this man. Telling people he was going on a work trip to Hawaii, but failing to mention that he was bringing his girlfriend, or even had a girlfriend at all. People saying they broke it off with him, but he kept coming back and trying to apologize. This poor girl allegedly broke up with him the morning prior because she didn't want to do the long distance, and she was crying because she felt bad because he seemed like just such a nice guy, wondering if she made the right decision. Spoiler alert, you did. It just kept going. I was taking phone calls with his friends because they were truly in such disbelief of what I had posted, and I was in disbelief. I needed to know, did people close to him even have any idea this was going on? You remember me talking about how he got in a car accident and then later went out to the stockyards with another girl? Apparently, he was on his way to a date with a different girl before he got in that accident. And it's not even limited to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This person said that he was allegedly seen on the Canton, Akron, Cleveland, Are We Dating the Same Guy Facebook page. She recognized his tattoos, his hat, the pictures, his mustache. I got another comment saying they saw him in Arkansas. I'm from Boston. I haven't even posted this, like in the Boston, New Hampshire Facebook groups. I can't even imagine the stuff that I don't know. But I can share more of what I do know, and I will do that in part 12. If you're a single woman from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this series. Welcome to Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Gonna Marry? Part 12. This video is for educational purposes. There's no hate to anyone involved. Everything I say is my experience, my opinion, or alleged. You guys, this is so exhausting and it just never ends. I don't know how this person had the time to juggle multiple dating apps, having the same conversations with women at the exact same time, which I'll get to in a moment. He wasn't secretive with his phone. His phone was out. He wasn't on it very much when we were together. Granted, I live in New Hampshire. He lives in Texas, so we weren't together all the time. But then I think of small moments, like one time he was driving and he was on aux and he told me to pick a song. He gave me his phone and I opened up messages and I said, oh my gosh, you don't have any emojis next to my name. Let me put a little heart next to it. So I go in and I put a little heart next to my name, and as I'm doing that, I could see him like driving and looking at me like through the side of his eye, and I felt kind of weird. So I just kind of said like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to go through your messages or anything. And he got very quiet. And then he started going into the fact that his phone's an open book. I could go through his messages right now if I wanted to. I could look through his photos, like all that stuff. And I just thought that was very weird, and I didn't want to do that. I don't know why I would want to do that. I didn't see anything, like even when I was holding the phone. He did have a separate phone for work, or so he claimed it was for work. My theory is that maybe he had two phones. I know that sounds crazy, but so is this entire situation. This is an alleged text conversation between someone who reached out to me and this person. He texts her name ? He replies with his name ? And he almost immediately asks if she wants to meet up with him at the stockyards for the Chief game. She says no. The first thing I noticed when this was sent to me was the timestamp, Sunday, January 26th at 4:52 p.m. This was the weekend that I flew down to Texas to visit him for the first time, and he had just dropped me off at the airport at 2:30 for my 3 o'clock flight. This is my flight information. And as if that wasn't unsettling in and of itself, I received a message from another girl with screenshots of the exact same conversation. He messages her name ? She says his name ? They get to talking, and this was the day before I flew into Fort Worth to visit this man. Even has the audacity to tell her that he's not going to be very communicative this weekend because he's on his way to the airport to pick up his friends for a fun weekend in Texas. He wasn't picking up his friends. He was picking up me. And of course, he texts her on Sunday. He texts her at 2:45 p.m., 15 minutes after he dropped me off at the airport, and he wasn't even home yet. And that was just 2 of the girls that reached out to me, and I'm so confident that there were others, including this absolutely gorgeous girl who stitched one of my videos saying that she was with this person on January 31st. She met him at the stockyards. It kind of sounded like he was alone from her story, but I'm not 100% sure. And he immediately wanted to talk about kids, family, getting married, that he was leaving, that his ex was cheating on him, like the whole nine, all the stuff that he has told me and all the dozens of other girls before. And up until this point, it's to my knowledge that this man has been with dozens of women. My personal theory was that it goes way beyond the dozens, and that was confirmed when I received this email. You can pause to read the whole thing, but basically this super amazing girl reaches out to me and tells me the story of how she met this person on Hinge of summer 2022 and how he paid for her friend's bill, how they hung out, how they talked about everything. He was super kind to her, super protective, and they went back to his apartment. And of course, this is all alleged. I take everything I've seen with a grain of salt. However, the details of this story really checked out and were parallel with my experience with this person. Starting with this line down here where she talks about how they walked into his apartment and the first thing he does is put a pair of clean sheets on the bed and he hands her his military sweats, his t-shirt, like it's muscle memory. I had a similar experience. I remember when we walked into his apartment the first time I was visiting him in Texas, the first thing he did was take his sheets out of the dryer and put them on his bed. He talked about how he had multiple sets of sheets and how he was always cleaning them. I didn't think much of it. I just thought, one, it was a polite thing to do because he was hosting me as a guest, and 2, that maybe he was just like a clean freak or had like a touch of OCD from the military. The first night I was there, we didn't hook up or anything, and I had forgotten something to sleep in, so he went into his closet and he grabbed his military sweatpants and gave them to me. He also surprised me with matching t-shirts from a ski resort because he was on a ski trip 2 weeks prior. I thought this was so sweet. I was so happy that he thought of me because, like I mentioned before, my previous relationship, I was missing little things like that and I just wanted to be thought of. This was something that he knew. I always just wanted to be thought of. That was what was most important to me. He tells me that he washed the t-shirt for me, that it's nice and clean, and that I should keep it at his place. That way, every time I visit him, I have something to sleep in. I thought this was sweet. Looking back on it, I personally believe that he gave this t-shirt to multiple women and that this was just another ploy. Of all the receipts in this series, this one is the most important. I truly believe that everything this person does is extremely calculated and not without motive, and this alleged email fully supports that. You can pause to read, but she basically talks about how they were casually hooking up. It was nothing serious. She was fine with that, and he was super open about the fact that he'd been with a ton of women and that his body count was allegedly over 100. She asked him how that number could be so high, and his response is absolutely chilling. He says, "I got really good at playing the super nice and respectful guy, and girls are all over that." Again, you can pause to read, but she says that he cuddled her all night, which she found kind of weird because they were just hooking up, and that he even left a bar of soap in her shower for next time, and then she got the ick after this. She then talks about what a nice guy he is, said that they go out to the stockyards. She introduces him to his sister. They become really good friends. He talks about how he's apparently going back into the military at that time, and he said he moved from Florida to Texas because he was hoeing around in Florida, allegedly, and had come to Texas because he wanted to settle down and have a different lifestyle, which I believe to be completely untrue. I think that there is another reason that he left Florida and moved to Texas in the first place. This email just confirmed my suspicion that this man is just a con. I think he is sick. I think he has some serious problems that go far beyond just what I have uncovered through my TikTok series. Bragging about how your alleged body count is over 100, that was in 2022. It's now 2025. I can't imagine the amount of people that this man has conned into being with him physically. Which triggered a memory in my brain of the first weekend I was there. He kept taking off his cowboy hat and putting it in front of our faces when he would kiss me, and I thought that this was really sweet. The first time he did this, he took his cowboy hat off, and he said that he would love a photo of me to put in his cowboy hat because that's like a tradition, I guess. I said I could find a picture of me to print out and put in his hat, to which he responded that the tradition was actually that cowboys had a naughty photo of their partner in their cowboy hats for when they're on the road. I just kind of laughed and brushed it off at first because I wasn't sure if he was asking me for a naughty photo of myself. I didn't really know how to respond. He had brought this up multiple times, like every chance he could when we were talking about printing out photos, taking pictures or something. He'd always be like, "Oh, and I have to get that naughty photo of you for my cowboy hat," and thank God I didn't do it. Purely speculation, but after everything I've uncovered, I feel like this is some sort of trophy and that I probably would have ended up in a shoebox full of photos of other girls. I told myself I wasn't going to cry, so I'm going to try to get through this, but this is a picture of me the night before I left Fort Worth, and I just remember seeing this picture and thinking, like, I look so happy, and I just feel so dumb, and I feel so naive. I left Fort Worth feeling so happy and so full of love and so excited for my future with this person and just about life in general. So to know that it was all a con feels so like a punch to the gut, and I really don't know how to process any of this, if I'm being honest. I'm getting really emotional again, and I'm almost done. I know that I can get through this, but I really don't know what to do with this information at this point. Like, it goes so much further than just Fort Worth. Like, it goes everywhere. I feel like I can't even explain how bad the situation is. I feel like there are so many small details and small stories that I left out. If you want me to share those, I will. I just don't know what to do. Like, the series is pretty much ended. This man is all over the place. He's still doing what he's doing. He's not gonna stop. Like, I don't know where to go from here. I believe that this person has serious issues and gets some weird thrill out of putting women's lives in danger.